Welcome to episode 130 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we begin with the tales of Odysseus and the story of Telemachus and the Suitors. The war for Troy was over, and all the Argive heroes who had escaped death on the battlefield and survived the storms on the homeward journey had reached their native shores. Only Odysseus, son of Laertes, the king of Ithaca, had not returned. A strange fate had overtaken him. After many wanderings, he had landed on a lonely island covered with wild forest. It was the island of Ogygia, and there the nymph Calypso held him captive in her grotto because she wished to have him for her husband. But he was faithful to Penelope, the wife he had left behind in Ithaca, and at long last the gods on Olympus pitied his sad lot, all but Poseidon, the sea god. He was the ancient enemy of Odysseus, and while he did not dare destroy him, he put every possible obstacle in his way and drove him wandering over the sea. It was he who had cast him ashore on the island. But now, while Poseidon was feasting with the Ethiopians, the immortals resolved that Odysseus was to be released by Calypso. At Athene's request, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, went to the lovely nymph to announce the decision of Zeus. Athene herself, meanwhile, bound to her feet the golden sandals which carried her over land and sea, took in her hand the sharp-pointed lance with which she had overcome many a hero in battle, and descended from the rocky peak of Olympus. She flew to the island of Ithaca on the west coast of Greece. There she assumed the form of Mentes, leader of the Taphians, and went to the palace of Odysseus. Here there was sad confusion. Beautiful Penelope, daughter of Icarus, and her young son Telemachus had not been able to remain masters in their own house. When Odysseus failed to return long after the news of the fall of Troy and the homecoming of other heroes had reached Ithaca, the rumor of his death spread and was given more and more credence. Penelope was looked on as a young and wealthy widow, and she attracted many suitors. 12 rich lords came from Ithaca alone, 24 from the neighboring islands of Same, 20 from Zacynthus, and from Dulichium 52. Besides these, there were among them the retinue, a singer and a herald, 2 expert cooks, and a large following of slaves. All the lords courted Penelope and used up the stores of absent Odysseus. For over 3 years they had eaten, drunk, made merry, and lived on the fat of his land. When Athene arrived in the shape of Mentes, she found the suitors playing draughts in front of the palace. They were seated on the hides of cattle they had taken from the stalls of Odysseus. Heralds and servants went among them, mixing wine and water in bowls, cutting and serving meat, and cleaning the tables with sponges. Telemachus, the son of the house, sat among the suitors with a sad heart and the thought of his father. He longed for him to come and drive away the throng of arrogant wastrels. When he saw Mentes, he ran forward to greet him, clasped his right hand in welcome, and asked him into the house. They entered the great hall, and Telemachus took the stranger's lance and leaned it against the spear rack. Then he led his guest to a chair covered with a soft tapestry, and put a footstool under his feet. He himself sat beside him. A woman slave brought water and a golden pitcher for the stranger to wash his hands. Then meat and bread were served, and the cups filled with wine. Soon after, the suitors joined them and began to eat and drink with much gusto. Then they demanded music. The herald handed Phemius, the singer, his graceful lyre, and he plucked the strings and chanted his tale. While the suitors listened, Telemachus turned his head to his guest and whispered in his ear, "My friend, I shall unburden my heart to you if I may. Do you see how these men are wasting the fortune of my father, whose bones are perhaps at the bottom of the sea, or rotting on an alien shore? I fear he will never return to punish them. But tell me, where you come from, who are you, and the names of your parents? Or perhaps you were a friend of my father's. I am Mentes, son of Anchialus, answered Athene. I rule the islet of Taphos, and have come here by ship to barter iron for copper and tamace. Ask Laertes, your grandfather, who, they say, is eating out his heart in sorrow, far from the city, and he will tell you that from time immemorial our houses have been bound by the ties of hospitality. I came because I thought your father had returned. I see he has not, but I am sure he is living. Perhaps he has been shipwrecked on some savage island and is being captive there. But my spirit, which can look into the future, tells me that it will not be for long. He will soon be released and return to his country. You are your father's true son, dear Telemachus. How you resemble him in your features. Above all, your eyes. I knew your father well before he left for Troy. Since then I have not seen him. But tell me, what are all these people doing in your house? Are you celebrating a wedding, or is this some other festive banquet? Telemachus answered him with a sigh. All these men you see are courting my mother and eating us out of house and home. We may have been prosperous once, but now everything is changed. My mother cannot bear the thought of marrying again, but while she refuses her consent, she cannot get rid of her suitors, who are consuming our substance and will soon bring us to ruin. The goddess replied in sorrowful but angry tones, How much you need your father! Let me counsel you how to drive this swarm of wooers from your palace. Speak to them tomorrow and bid them return to their homes. Tell your mother that if she wishes to marry again, she should go to her father in his house. The wedding can be arranged, and there they can see to her dowry. You yourself, however, make ready your best ship. Take 20 oarsmen and set out to look for your father. First go to Pylos and question Nestor. If he cannot tell you anything, go to Sparta, to Menelaus, for he was the last of the Argives to reach home. If you learn from him that your father is alive, then have patience 1 more year. But if you hear that he has died, return home, make offerings to the dead, and heap him a burial mound. If the suitors are still in your house, you must kill them openly or by guile. For you are no longer a boy who needs a guardian. Have you not heard of the glory Orestes won by slaying Aegisthus, who had murdered his father? You are tall and strong. Conduct yourself accordingly, and see to it that later generations have nothing but praise for you. Telemachus thanked his guest for his fatherly counsel, and wanted to give him a gift in parting. But Mentes promised to come again, and take it with him on his way back to his own country. Then he, who was Athene, vanished. Like a bird she flew upward, and Telemachus trembled, for now he guessed that he had been talking to an immortal. In the meantime, Phemius had been singing of the perilous homeward journey of the Achaeans. Lonely Penelope sat in her chamber, and the song drifted up to her. She veiled herself with 2 of her tirewomen, descended to the great hall. There she went up to the singer and said, You know many joyful tunes, Phemius. Gladden the hearts of my guests with them. But do not sing of matters which torment me and wring my soul. For even without your song, I do nothing but think of the man whose fame has traveled over all of Greece, and who has not come home yet. But Telemachus spoke kindly to his mother. Do not reprove the singer for giving voice to what kindles his soul at the moment, he said. Let them sing of the Danai. Odysseus is not the only one who has not returned. Think how many others have perished. And you, dear mother, go back to your chamber and direct your women in spinning and weaving. Giving orders is the business of men, and above all mine, for I am the master of this house. Penelope was surprised to hear such determined words from her son, who seemed suddenly to have ripened into manhood. She returned to her room and mourned her husband in solitude. When she was gone, Telemachus joined the suitors, who were reeling and shouting over their cups, and called aloud, "Enjoy your feast, but do not make so much noise. It takes silence to delight in song. Tomorrow I shall call an assembly of the Achaeans, and then I shall demand that each of you return to his own home before you have entirely used up my father's property." The suitors scowled and bit their lips at the resolute speech of the young man, but they stubbornly rejected his suggestion to woo Penelope at the house of her father Icarus. After much wrangling and jeering, they retired to their couches, and Telemachus, too, went to rest. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales. Many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.